What's going on, fight fans? My name is Jake Littman, and I'm here with the Behind the Cage Door podcast with a special guest, Max the Candyman Quinones today. How's it going, Max?
Doing great, my man. Another day in the office. Excited to be part of this interview, honestly.
Yes, sir. And I know you've been working hard. I know you're in training right now. You got any plans coming up?
So we threw our name in the mix for April 20th down in the Hard Rock again. So all my Tampa people, Florida people, come on out, show some love, show some support. And we just got to find an opponent. That's really what it comes down to at this point.
Oh yeah. And right behind me, there's a little window glare, so we might not be able to see it, but that's you right there, right in the middle of the glare.
Ah,
That's CFFC 114, you versus Cameron Cash. And that was a pretty big win that you had, your first professional finish. You want to talk about that a little bit? How did that feel?
oh, honestly, just another day. The way I approach fighting in the aspect is like throughout amateurs, I wanted to get as much time in the cage as comfortable. I wanted to be as comfortable, acclimated before I decide to make the jump to pros. So when it comes to having the finishes or just beating someone up for 15 minutes, me personally, I get more satisfaction of whooping a guy's ass for 15 minutes straight versus getting a knockout, because some things can just happen. You get caught, whatever mishap, or if you set it up nice, then it's a whole different story. But the way things planned it out that fight, it was just calculated, cold heartedness. We saw what the target was, and we just landed it. Coach said throw a hook. That's what started it. So it was just that connection that I have with my coach. That if he says something, bomb, it's just right there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know in that fight, you landed a bunch of knees and on the ground too, you dominated him. So really asking that, I know you got a little bit of wrestling in you, you got some good striking. Do you have a base, or are you a true mixed martial artist? Is that what you really pride yourself on?
I think I'm developing myself into more of a mixed martial artist. I think my style as of now is more of a freestyle fighter per se, because wherever it goes, I'm very, very comfortable and very well versatile in those positions as well. And it's just about transitioning at the end of the day. If I can go one thing to the next, to the next, next, and beat my opponent in the psychological factor too, that's what it's going to come down to. So I pride myself in being great in all aspects, just like a video game character, right? You have your attributes. Which one are you going to stack up on? I did start with a wrestling background. Started wrestling back in freshman year of high school. Became a two-time All-American for like national tournaments, and then scholarship fell through in high school to where it didn't allow me to would not allow me, but it didn't want me to pursue college in a further matter. So went to Little State College for a little bit, but didn't want my skill set to go down or to go to waste, because I've always had a vision to become an MMA champion. At some point or another, it started in fifth grade, but it's just been manifesting somehow, and just having that outlet. And then from there, 2015, joined my first gym, and then just been nonstop ever since, except for my car accident that I had a couple years back.
And car accidents are no joke. I mean, just a pain. But speaking of, you're training at Def War. And so
Yes.
therefore is what's gotten you really where you are now. You know, you had the extensive amateur career. Now you're at Def where you're working up that pro career. You've gotten over all of this stuff that, tried to hold you back. Now you're moving forward. You want the championship belt. You're fighting at flyweight. How does Def War help you get to that championship at flyweight?
I mean, it's just taking the actions, Coach Daniel, Coach Devin, Coach Drew, they're all masterminds, and everyone plays a role. You know what I mean? Because I'm my own contract. Like, yes, we have a team, but you go in there by yourself. But everyone in the team has a role, and everyone knows the role, and we all stick to our role. My role is to have that warrior mindset, be there for my team, make sure I don't embarrass my family, myself, and things of that nature. So the mental aspect is definitely one attribute. The stylistic difference that we bring as a team, even though we're small. But we're just only showcasing just a smidgen what we got, and it's only going to help for there. So I think the fighting will show more of what Death Force has been preparing me for. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and the wins, as the wins comes, the recognition always follows. So no doubt it'll come, and it'll come in due time. And so one thing that I think, if it hasn't gotten you attention yet, it will get you attention soon in the near future. Your hairstyle, bro. We're missing some color in there today. But you want to tell us about the style a little bit, about the cut?
Oh man, so that stems off way back, because I my barber, D Barber, Barbers R Us Plus, 2929 North 15th Street in Tampa. He not only is he my actual brother-in-law, so my niece is her uncle and things like that, but we just always had a creative aspect of like, all right, what can set us apart, but not do permanent like tattooing and things like that. Like you don't want that to showcase forever, but hair grows back. And growing up, I've always like wanted to dye my hair different colors, and I have dyed my hair different colors. So I was like, you know what? We have an opportunity to where I have a genius mastermind and free freehand hair cutting and a brother, and then with my ideology to where, all right, how can this be a marketable thing? It just coincides with each other. And then he's had boxing experience growing up as well, so he takes nothing but pleasure helping me out, and it's all glory to God too, because these things align each other through the grace of God. I'm not trying to get too religious, but at the same token, you gotta give credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? So
100%.
with the trademark, it all started because Jordan Barrows is my favorite wrestler, and his quote is, "All I see is gold." So it started with a gold road because that's all we see. All we see is gold, and then it's going to deteriorate that from getting us to the end of that road. So we're going to get that gold at some point. Then the back and the size is just something that he created as well. I mean, like he just freestyles it. Like he literally just says, "All right, what color do you want?" And then he'll have his own idea, but it's always still the same trademark on the top. This doesn't change, the top portion, but this is up in the air, wherever he can come up with, and he does an amazing job. And that's one thing that people do talk about. So I'm glad it's getting a notoriety off that.
Oh yeah. And every little thing that you can do to set yourself apart is definitely going to help. But I think if I was another dude looking at you in the cage, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, this guy means business. And so I definitely think
It's definitely the war paint. I mean, I don't wear that for any random occasion. Like, I'll keep it on after the fight until it grows out, but I get it day before weigh-ins or at weigh-ins before, because I usually make weight on really easily. And then from there, get the trademark, and it's literally that switch. That switch just comes on, and it really is war paint. It's kill to be killed at that point.
oh yeah. And so you get that war paint on, you step on the scale of weigh-ins, you hit weight. You're a big flyweight. How do you do that?
Good question. Good question. Diet. Definitely my wife. Definitely my wife. So before we got together and through our amateurs, that's the reason why I spent so much time as an amateur figuring out the diet aspect, making sure I didn't run to the same humps and bruises that I saw other professionals run into. And how can I excel myself higher? And the biggest thing is diet, bro. Diet is such an important factor, if not one of the most important factors. Because if your mind, body, and soul isn't cleansed or isn't feeling intact, you're not going to feel right when you go into the fight. And some people operate in chaos. I operate in both ways. But when it comes to the diet aspect, we cut out like no red 40, no yellow, like no preservatives, none of that bull crap. Everything is all organic, homemade bone broth that she makes, just different things. And I have a newborn. Well, she's not one, so I have a toddler now, and we want to instill that attribute as well, because there's a lot of unhealthiness going on in the world. And if people just make that one adjustment, and granted, it's hard. It's hard. Trust me, it's tough. I wouldn't say hard. It's tough, but just taking it one day at a time, one little goal at a time, and then it just makes it worthwhile. So definitely the diet. And I've been at the same weight damn near 11 years now. 11 years. So since 2012.
And so we're staying at flyweight for the future.
Yeah. So my last fight was I've always wanted to test myself. So any of my amateur losses came from me going at a higher weight class. So 135 trying to get a belt, or 145, things of that nature. So my last amateur fight fought Malcolm Willmaker, and he was the number one like Southeast guy at 135. And of course, coming back from my car accident and things like that, I wanted to test myself, see where I'm at competitively. I showed up the day of the fight at 135. So I'm not a big dude. I'm not a big dude at all. So we just once that fight happened, we made that adjustment. It's like, hey, look, like we're sticking at flyweight. Flyweight is where it's at, and it's good to be tested. There's nothing wrong with getting tested. It shows where you are, and it reignite that fire. And that definitely restarted a whole nother thing, man. 125 is home, and that's where I'm gonna stay.
Absolutely. And I think you have an advantage. You might not be the biggest guy, but you're tall and you're long, you're rangy. And I'm just thinking back to the Cameron Cash fight. I mean, I was just watching that a little earlier today. I feel like you used your range really effectively. And then when you got on the ground, you were able to control him completely. Really, I feel like a lot of the credit goes to that length. So I feel like how do you try and blend your style with your aggression and your mentality in the cage, especially at flyweight where some of the guys are a little bit shorter than you.
So even though I'm like pretty tall for my weight class, I've always been the smallest guy in any like practice room I've been in. So like Brandon Lewis, he's our 135er, and he's a little bit shorter. He's about 5'5", 5'6", but dude is a freaking tank. He's just boom, 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 boom. His legs are tree trunks. So going with him and seeing that height difference, but still having that power and speed as well, because he's a monster. So we go head to head. That's definitely acclimated me to like the height difference. And I know if I'm getting up with him, I'm getting up against these flyweights. If I'm getting up against 155ers, 170 pounders, and that just comes with proper technique as well. Because throughout wrestling, I mean, we emphasize like that fundamental basics. Like if you do these things correctly, and you can chain them up as well, but if you do them correctly, no one's going to be able to hold you down, even if you are the smallest guy in the room. So it's just having that confidence, and then working with those bigger people just gives me that advantage as well. And my coach, Daniel, he really emphasizes speed. Speed, 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 speed. So I'm getting the strength in from obviously doing my strength conditioning and then going with those heavier guys, plus working on the speed and different aspects, different workouts, to where it just all coincides together.
Right. And I think you've done a great job of blending it all in. And you have a well-rounded skill set. Your career's going well. So let's take it back. A little earlier, you were talking about your amateur career. You had a very extensive amateur career. How do you think that set you up for the pro career that you started having, you're gonna have? And what kind of lessons did you take away from that amateur career?
So not that long ago, I mean, MMA was just, you just went straight into pros. There wasn't really an amateur scene. So in the state of Florida, at least, you had to have 5 fights and then you go pro. I started when it was just, you couldn't even do ground and pound, only to the body. So no headshots, things like that. So those times, I just wanted to get the experience. So being comfortable in the cage, I had the experience of being comfortable in a big arena from wrestling. So it wasn't having stage fright and things like that. I just want to make sure when I'm locked into the cage and I'm actually duking it out with someone, I felt comfortable. So that was one takeaway, making sure I really felt comfortable in the cage, because 3 minutes goes by fast. 5 minutes, I'm able to chill out. Not chill out, but put the pressure, like there's moments. I'm able to shift gears at my pace and control the fight longer, because I mean you have 2 additional minutes. And as far as the other setbacks I have come across, I mean, dealing with bullshit partying, I went through that little phase, the derail you and things like that. Never did any hard drugs or nothing like that. Just felt distracted, like I wasn't giving my all in the gym. So that's one aspect. Another aspect was not having the right people in my corner. You think they have the right people in your corner, but then when shit hits the fan, who's really down with you when you're at your lowest point? And that stems off from my car accident. So back in 2019, I had a horrific car accident to where I had to have major reconstructive surgery on one of my knees and my ankle as well. So with that being said, the doctor, my leg got crushed on the dash. Yeah, crushed on the dash, and then just popped. So tore ACL, MCL, meniscus, fractured my tibia, 2 torn ligaments in my ankle. And then with rehab, the doctor didn't even think I could walk the same, let alone like I would have a limp if I did start to walk. So I just applied myself really, and that's one of those life changing experiences to where it's like, all right, you have a second chance of this. Let's make it right. It is all gas, no brakes at this point. And with that being said, it took me 3 years off the sidelines to really focus, rehabilitating everything, making sure it's better than what I was at, because the next jump was one more amateur fight, then I'm going pro. So did extend like 2 a days, literally just rehabbing, going into the gym, and it was during COVID, so it didn't work out perfectly. So it was right when COVID started. Everyone's already taking their break from the gyms being closed, whatever the case may be. But I actually had a break because of my car accident. So while people were taking their break, just being lazy or not finding the different times in the pandemic, whatever, I was still getting it in. Literally, the whole gym would just be for myself because I had to go for physical therapy. So I would have the whole gym to myself and my physical therapist Mitch and Dr. McLaren out of ASPI did miracles to my leg. I have like damn near concrete on my knees and stuff like that. So there are definitely some more power to it, and they're even stronger than ever. So it's a blessing, but that's another setback that a lot of people experience as a pro. Later, even in their career, I experienced all of that as an amateur, to where it's like nothing can deteriorate my mind, my spirit, my body, my soul from getting to where I'm going to get to. And it's not a matter if, it's just when. It really is when. I got the right people behind me, got the right support system, the right team, the right foundation, beautiful, healthy family. What can go wrong? What could really go wrong? I lost damn near everything that I could have tried as an amateur. So now we're just going to keep propelling and nothing's going to stop us.
Hell yeah. And power to you. I blew out my knee about a year and a half ago and I'm still not back from it. And so I guess you kind of really answered it a second ago, but really what drew that power to you to push through that rehab? Because rehab's hard. And if people who haven't gone through rehab are listening to this, like I don't know if they can really understand it without actually going through it, but what got you through it?
Shoot. Uh, so I have my oldest brother's physically disabled, in a wheelchair. I'm not exactly sure. Well, it's just hard for me to pronounce his diagnosis, but he was born with it. He's had about 13 surgeries, but mentally he's there, but physically, like his mobility and his elbows and knees don't work. But he's always been like an inspiring factor to that sense because he was a well-known rapper in Florida, and he did everything from a wheelchair. He had his own recording studio. He had his own job, place, managed having a baby, everything as far as that. And I always looked up to that because it's that work ethic that even my mom as well, single mom, three boys, going to work, putting in the hours just to make sure we had food on the table and things of that nature. So it's really that work ethic that just stems off at a young age. Because it was definitely tough, definitely tough. I couldn't even move my toes. Like imagine this is my whole foot. I couldn't even go like this at first. Couldn't even go like that. Then it had to be this motion, that motion, then all the way around, and then building up from literally scratch. So being in that wheelchair for a couple months because I was down for about 8 months in the wheelchair, then spun back to just like making sure everything's back on point. Those two factors definitely stemmed off that. You just got to go every day. Wrestling helped with that as well because it's that mental fortitude. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. So if I could just keep going, I know at some point it's going to pay off. I'm not half-assing whatever I'm doing. I'm going in there 100%. And as long as I'm making some improvement, even if it may not seem like it at the moment, because I'm beating myself up, but I know I'm getting better. And that's one thing to take away as well. As long as you're doing 1% better each day, it's going to come. Nothing has to be a rush. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So, and things happen in moments, but with those moments, how do you adapt? How do you adjust? How do you grow from those moments? And I think definitely the work ethic and just having that bigger goal, having that bigger dream in mind, knowing that it was right there in front of me and then a freak accident happened and it could be taken away in a second. So just understanding that and knowing that like I want to prove them wrong. I mean, that's some big motivation. That's some big motivation right there.
And that's some real life stuff. I mean, and that's the stuff that sticks with you in those hard moments. And I feel like that's probably where you get your composure from. I mean, that's one thing. Like, and they mentioned on the broadcast in both of your two CFFC pro fights, like you're very calm, you're very composed. It's almost like a puzzle to you in there. It feels like, and so I feel like everything that you've gone through had to definitely have gotten you there. And so I guess what I ask in saying that is with your wrestling background and that work ethic that you get from being a wrestler, when you transitioned into MMA before everything happened. How are you able to get that? Because wrestling and MMA are very different, and American wrestling and MMA wrestling is also very different. How are you able to merge everything together to now get to where you are now?
The biggest thing I would say is the transitions that definitely helped. So I've always been like, even my wrestling style. If one thing didn't work, it go the next to the next and next and next, and it's always chain wrestle. I love the chain wrestle, love the chain wrestle, and I love the bruteness of wrestling as well, the aggression, the aggressiveness, the intensity, and that's where I think fighting and wrestling are the same in the sense like it's pure instinct. You do have moves, but you have that aggression to really hurt somebody. Versus, and same thing with boxing, Muay Thai. Like you have those other styles as well that want to hurt people, but you're working out your entire body. Wrestling is just a whole different beast, and definitely the leg riding. I used to be a big leg rider, so leg riding definitely helps. Having that top pressure. My coaches, they were out of Ohio. One was a Marine, one was the Army in the Army. So they put us through those kind of rigorous trainings that get you mentally prepared for like boot camp or like going overseas and things like that. So the mental aspect, translating, and then as far as the transitions as well, definitely helped. Were the biggest things because I could put combination together, boom, transition this, that doesn't work, bomb, bomb, we're back to the top, back to red, and you just don't know where it's going to be coming from. The angles as well, just knowing that like, all right, if I get this certain way, it allows me to do X, Y, Z. If I go this certain way, it allows me to do X, Y, Z, or whatever, how many options we have. But it's just those split second things that it came with time. I didn't get to where I wanted to be like in my wrestling career, but it just allowed me to refocus that energy into something more meaningful, which is now fighting and being a world champion.
Oh yeah, and we're moving up slowly but surely, climbing up through the ranks. Your next matchup, what are you looking for? Are you just taking whoever's given to you, or what are you really looking for in a matchup?
Whoever they give me, really. I mean, I'm just grateful to be on the card. I want to keep fighting whoever they put in front of me to get to the ultimate goals. And we have everything mapped out for 2023 where we're projected to be. And we're going to be knocking on the door. We're going to be knocking on the big short door. So whoever they have in front of me is just another roadblock. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're dehumanized. Like I don't, they're a roadblock. You're getting the fuck out of the way. Sorry for my language there. And I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
all good.
They're getting the freak out of the way. You know what I mean? And it's a matter of putting food on the table too. So whoever Rob or Aries wanted to feed me, hey, we all gonna eat. We're gonna
Yes,
eat.
sir.
I love it. So I love fighting. I love this whole process. I love the journey. So wherever they're willing to hook a brother up with, let me know. I'm ready, baby.
Let's do it. And the fans want to see you fight, especially in Tampa. You got your people down in Tampa. I know that last fight that you had down in Tampa, it was loud, and it was loud for you, especially before, like you were a little earlier on the card, and the stadium wasn't really packed, and it got loud. So, how do you feed off that energy, and how do you get that support?
It's all about the story, really. I mean, Candyman. So my nickname used to be the Hitman, and that is something that one of my like a coach way back when gave me that nickname because I finished a contract and whatever the case may be. But Candyman actually sent from high school, so I used to have my wrestling duffel bag, my candy bag, and I used to sell candy at school. So there's always that hustler grind mentality, and the people that have known me as Candyman, that's already like a fan base in its own. So that just all trickled in. Plus whatever fans I made during the first fight that I had with CFFC. And then Death War always brings out a crowd. You see the card is damn near half of Death War on the card, which is a blessing in itself. But you have those extra fans as well cheering, screaming for you because it is a community, it's a family, and whenever one of us are fighting, we're all fighting.
That's awesome to have that many people in your corner, that much support, and I'm sure it makes it easy when you're doing your job in the cage. When you got your family, you got your team, you got your town, everybody behind you. I feel like that's definitely a lot to draw and even more motivation in and of itself. Um,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, and so I think that's also really funny, the candy man, that little story, with the bag of candy. Because I remember my friends also on the wrestling team had the little duffel bag of candy, selling candy $1, and that hustler mentality, that grind. I feel like a lot of people see it and they're just like, wow, like I wish I had that in me. And so I know you said you drew on that from your family, but nowadays you've got your little baby, you got your wife. How has that changed you now that you're an adult?
Oh man, I never knew what love was until she came out. It's a whole different perspective, and that's why they're my biggest support. They're my biggest sponsors. My family, my wife, she making sure I'm eating right, getting the proper rest, making sure I'm going to train, and those are things I'm doing on my own as well. But it's that extra push that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people don't have that support system, and it could either be when you get home it's a battle, or when you get home it's peace, and that's what it is here. It's nothing but peace, love, everlasting health, and just gratitude all the way across. Because we've been through some shit, a lot of crazy shit, and we're just grateful to be here and to keep propelling forward. Um, to where it's like whether our lives were meant to be at this time frame or like now we're just doing something else. It gets deep. It gets deep. So with our story, we've known each other for 11 years, start off as friends, and then our car accidents rekindle us and things like that. And we have a beautiful family now. So I owe it all to them. Like I'm forever in debt to them, and that's where that killer mentality comes from as well. Because I've been in actual situations where people's lives have been taken in front of me over some crazy stuff. So now when I get in the cage, it's like it is life or death. It's a matter of you're taking half my paycheck from my family and you're not excelling me to the next position in my career. So with all those factors in mind, it's like, all right, like we're gun ho. Nothing's going to distract us. I know there's a lot of fans in the crowd, but I literally tune it out. It's just like, all right, well, who's in front of me? Starting that way, and it's like it's just locked in focus until the fight's over.
That's awesome. And I know I'm hoping to see you in Tampa April 20th. I'm sure the fans and the crowds are hoping to see you there April 20th. I got one last question for you before we sign it off. And really, yeah, I mean, you're very insightful. So I think this is perfect. What kind of advice would you leave to someone who might be coming up, might be on their way up, might be thinking about MMA and coming from their wrestling background? What would you tell somebody coming up the same way that you did? And what would be your advice to them?
Weekends are your busiest time. No slacking off on the weekends just because everyone else is relaxing or you may have a day off on the weekend. Your weekend should be your busiest time. From Friday all the way up to Sunday, Monday, everything as far as that, stay busy. Go to the gym. Put in some kind of work. Do that over time. Because I promise you, a lot of people are not doing that. Another thing, focus on diet. Don't rush the process as far as your amateur career. I know you want to get paid and things of that nature, but you can get paid from having sponsorship. There's different avenues to getting paid. And remember, you are a business man. And that's one thing my mentor tells me. So like, I'm a business. Like the Max Quinones is a business in itself. The team, that everything that he brings about stems off the amateur career. So what relationships are you building as an amateur? What things are you learning? What things are you seeing from the pros? What bits of information are you taking? And the final thing I would say is be open-minded. Take whatever you're able to, disregard what doesn't hold to your values and standards, and just disregard.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, your mentality is spot on. Your focus, you're ready to go. I'm ready to see what you got next and what's coming up. I know the CFFC flyweight division is looking for a champ. It seems like the UFC is always looking for a flyweight. So you want to take this time to just shout out some of those people that are going to help you get there?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, our glory to God. Thank you, my wife, my beautiful baby, my family. Without you guys, I wouldn't be in the position that we are right now to be able to focus on this full time. So love you guys always and forever. I would say another sponsor, definitely not sponsor, but definitely the Def 14 family itself. That's my second family. We're a tribe, we're a village, we're a pack of wolves. We're hungry, we're ready to eat. Bunch of alphas taking on the next beta, and we want the next alphas too. So we're ready for all comers. Angry Elephant, Uncle Gene, out of Valrico, tattoo and smoke shop, beautiful artwork. You guys see that? All we see is
Okay.
boom. And then we got D Barber, of course, out of Barbers R Us Plus, Omega Gamma Delta, men's fraternity founded in 1902. We do charitable work for communities we represent. So that's another big partner of mine as well. We also have Team Reaper. They do the apparel, fight shorts, fight gear. YFI Creative. They hook up the banner. That's a pretty sick banner if you
Yeah.
actually don't know. And then PNG, Pristine and Green, they're local family, not local, they're family-based cannabis company out of Oklahoma. So check out their Instagram and site, and just partner up with one of the biggest sponsors in CFFC for the Tampa area, Bartow Ford. Just got word from his assistant yesterday, so we're looking to flourish that relationship as well. And my videographer, Byron, Dr. Patel out of Neospine, his staff, they've always looked out for me as well. And just God again, man. And thanking myself for putting the hard work in. We're gonna keep on growing, baby.
Yes, sir. Nothing's gonna stop until we get to the top. Max, I really appreciate your time. It was really a pleasure to speak with you. You got a lot of really insightful stuff, so it's gonna be really fun to see what you got going next and to see that path and that story get told. So I appreciate you very much, and we'll see you in Tampa.
Appreciate you, my man. Stay blessed, brother.